Welcome. I have been invited to the American Correctional Association's conference to evaluate the effectiveness of incarceration in the United States. First, I will clarify the demographics associated with the prison population. Next, I will analyze the relationship between poverty and incarceration. And lastly, I will assess the efficacy of mass incarceration and consequences associated with it. The United States incarceration rate is higher than any other modern industrialized nation in the world. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, there were roughly 2,266,800 adults incarcerated in U.S. federal and state prisons and county jails at the end of 2011. That translates to roughly 1 out of every 100 adults. Another 4,814,200 adults were reported to be on probation or parole. That is a combined total of 6,977,700 adults that were under correctional supervision, such as probation, parole, jail, or prison, at the end of 2011. In regards to population, non-Hispanic blacks accounted for 39.4% of the total prison and jail population in 2009. Hispanics comprised 20.6% of the total jail population in 2009. According to the U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics, about 61% of the sentenced prison population in 2011 was aged 39 or younger. The age distribution varied among racial groups. Among males, who accounted for 93% of the prison population, black, non-Hispanic, and Hispanic prisoners were generally younger than white non-Hispanic prisoners. More than half of the white male prisoners were aged 39 or younger, compared to 63% of black and 68% of Hispanic male prisoners. About 60% of both white and black female prisoners were aged 39 or younger. Next topic is race in regards to mass incarceration. Today, black males are imprisoned at 6.5 times the rate of white males. Low-income and undereducated African Americans are currently incarcerated at unprecedented levels. Mass incarceration encourages society to fixate on a subset of the black population, which is young black men in low-income communities, and we view them as potential threats. This stigma increases their social and economic marginalization and solidifies the stigma associated with race. Since the vast majority of low-income families and poverty-stricken communities contain minority population, non-Hispanic whites have the advantage of the social stigma attached to their ethnicity. Next is poverty and incarceration. Mass incarceration has shown over time to significantly increase poverty. Having a criminal record decreases the likelihood of obtaining a successful job and reduces both the level and growth of wages. Subsequently, the majority of people who have served time in jail find themselves in a poverty trap long after they serve their time. Since the 1980s, there has been an exponential spike in the number of prisoners in the United States. This is largely due to the war on drugs, which led to a mandatory sentencing for nonviolent offenses. This increased the number of incarcerated drug offenders 12-fold since the 1980s. Another major contributor to the high incarceration rates is the length of the prison sentences given. Due to mandatory sentencing, judges are forced to place longer sentences on nonviolent offenders. Incarceration is one of America's main forms of punishment, rehabilitation, or both for the commission of felony and other offenses. In theory, the purpose of incarceration is similar to time out for adults. Unfortunately, there is little done to rehabilitate prisoners for life after prison. The rate of recidivism is so high in the United States that most inmates who enter the system are likely to re-enter within 1 year of their release. What is more alarming is the stigma that society attaches to the prisoners perpetuates the likelihood that the inmate will fail to be a competent member of society after their release. The time prisoners serve does not end upon their release either. It is endless, and a criminal record ensures a condemned life of second-class citizenship. There is also the financial aspect that we must keep in mind and the burden it places on the state and their taxpayers. It costs roughly $31,000, though this number varies by state, to keep someone in prison for a year. It is important to keep in mind that violent crime rates have been relatively constant, if not declining, over the past decades. That means that the large increase in the prison population is primarily due to the public policy changes that caused more prison sentences and lengthened the time served. These policies were an attempt to protect the public from serious and violent criminals, but instead resulted in an unprecedented increase in the confinement of nonviolent offenders. In conclusion, the lack of effectiveness in incarceration is plainly obvious. Unfortunately, public support for prison reform is relatively low. I believe that the United States relies too heavily on incarceration as punishment for a wide variety of crimes. Incarceration fails to rehabilitate convicted citizens effectively so that they may successfully enter back into society. With greater consideration for the convicted and an emphasis on guiding them back on track to a positive lifestyle, incarceration would be an effective and successful form of behavior management. Thank you.